You're listening to Raising Anchor, a Rhode Island FC podcast. We're glad you're here. Hello and welcome to Raising Anchor, your podcast and source for all things Rhode Island FC. I'm your host, Matt Entrican, and with me, as always, is the wonderful co-host, Jason Carey. Jason, how is it going?
Not too bad. A little exhausted. I know listeners might not know because we were a little bit delayed, but we didn't record last week. Not just only because we had stuff going on, but like I was pretty sick too. And then I got my wife sick, and you know, like no one's getting any sleep.
When you told me you couldn't record, the first thing I thought was it was more like conflict of interest allegiance issues because you tried to hide the sound of your voice. So I was like, what, are you already getting solicited for additional podcast co-hosting responsibilities now? Because we're getting to become a big deal. I mean, the club is now, you know, quote unquote, adding us. They're reaching out to us for additional things. Like the pendulum is swinging towards our favor.
Must construct additional podcasts.
Yeah, no, you were not sounding good after you kind of got over the I'm sorry I can't record tonight moment. So I'm just glad you're back in action and at what 90%? Are you still feeling it?
Yeah, I'd say around 90%. You know, I still a little congested here and there, but for the most part, I think I'm back.
So you're drinking your milk, taking your vitamins, you're doing your push-ups, so you're back in action.
You could say that.
Well, listeners, we've got a really fun podcast to return. And, you know, they don't even know that we took a break because we have so many episodes bankrolled that...
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We're just kind of elaborating more on the, like, hey, how's it going, you know?
Yeah, no, they didn't even get a chance to feel bad that you were down and out for the account. You know, like, that's how much we care about this to the listeners. We don't let a single week go by without content. We put our bodies on the line and we record weeks in advance so that you can always rely on a Friday listen.
Giving myself an out too if I sound a little scratchy tonight too, you know.
You always sound scratchy, and I'm there for it. When I did the solo recording for the Brett interview, and you weren't available for that either, but that was because I didn't record it on the standard times. I definitely recorded that late at night, and when I heard it on playback, I sounded gassed, and it was like, well, I've already done this. It's already out there in the world, so I'm not taking it back, but. I hear you on the gravelly voice and the fatigue. This podcast is wearing us down. Should we just call it? It was a good run.
Capped out.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, moving on to the big stuff. So we've got a ton of news today for our listeners. Hey listeners, quick break in the normal podcast recording. So we actually had to pull out a segment that we had recorded several weeks ago, which was going to talk about the kit reveal, as well as some of the other things that the club has in the works to plan. Unfortunately, the dates that we were provided when we did this recording have since changed. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We knew when the club graciously gave us this information ahead of time, knowing how far out we record, that this was kind of a moving target at the time. And that, you know, there were still things in play to lock down the dates that we were provided. So unfortunately, we do kind of have to change direction on this part of the podcast, as well as the rest of the podcast that you're going to be listening to in this episode, because we had to pull out not just the segment where we talked about the context of the kit reveal event. We also sprinkled that into a lot of the conversation through the rest of this episode. So you're probably going to hear some chops and some quick cuts as we tried to cannibalize as much of the content that was already recorded, so something could go out on this episode. So we apologize if maybe it's not as fluid, or if you get a little lost at times. We just had to, you know, cut and scrape some things that kind of gave the wrong information out so that we could protect what the club is trying to attempt to deliver to the fans. So the good news is they're doing it for the right reasons, to make sure that is delivered at the utmost top-notch product that they can put forth. We haven't been given the new date. We are speculating that it's going to be sometime in the next few weeks, as of this recording, for the 27th. Having said that, we could now, though, unfortunately, be anticipating something after Thanksgiving. So the club has committed to getting this information out to the supporters groups and to the fans that will be able and allowed to participate as soon as possible. But there's just a few things still that they have to button up to get this across the finish line. So I apologize that we had to do this just for the episode itself, but it's just one of those, the costs of doing business and the cost of recording a podcast 3 weeks in the past.
3 months in advance. Wow. Can we see the future?
Well, if we can, we're getting it wrong since we're now having to go back and we're going to re-edit on the day before. So this is almost like a dry run for us to get ready for when we convert to, day of recordings. So in one way, thanks for giving us the time to quickly adjust and educate everyone on what the happenings are inside this episode, and more to come on the event for the kit reveal. I can say that in lieu of that, we do have some interesting and spicy rumors, which we're going to start dropping next week on the Twitter and Instagram, just because at this point information is going to fly so fast that we won't be able to record it and get it out in a meaningful capacity. So if you're listening to this podcast and just kind of enjoying the episodic journey, and you're not really following or participating in our social channels, and you want to understand what that content will look like, I highly encourage to give us a like, give us a follow, so that you can kind of sit back and enjoy a lot of the names that we're going to start speculating and dropping as the club gets very close to the open tryouts. And then, those future instances where, again, from the USL perspective, we're looking at names, from a USL standpoint, can be released after the Cup, which will be coming up on the 13th, the Sunday 11/13. So sit back for that and enjoy. Feel free to participate in the dialogue. If you guys have confirmed sources or information that you want to share discreetly, feel free to slide into the DMs on our social media channels, or you can reach out directly to the submission form on the website at raisinganchorpodcast.com. We're actually getting some content from external sources through that channel, so continue to feel free to use that. If you do want your name attached and you want credit, please let us know in the content submission form so we know to properly recognize where rumors are coming from. So that's all we have on the kit reveal part. So again, apologies, but I think since we are recording live, this might be a great opportunity to, unfortunately bring up the bad taste in our mouths from this last weekend, and that's that we will not be getting buried with a cup.
Yeah, it looks like it's not going to happen. I only watched the highlights. I had to work early the next morning, but that seems like there's quite a game.
I stayed up for the whole thing,
yeah.
And I was going back and forth with, at first it was maybe 15 fans on the Discord, and then it was just 3 of us, and I haven't had an emotional gut wrench like that, I think, ever in the game of soccer, not even in a World Cup match, because there was just so much on the line. There, you couldn't have written a better storyline, with the exception that the Loyal win instead of Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, definitely. Despite the outcome maybe not being what some of us would hoped, I don't know if you could have asked for a better game like that.
I don't think anyone outside of the city of Phoenix wanted that outcome. I mean, all over their social media, all over every Discord that I could insert myself into, Reddit, I mean, you name it, people were just crying in agony on the way it ended. Because I'm going to be honest, there was drama, right? They went up, and then they suddenly were behind chasing, and in the dying moments of stoppage time, they get awarded a penalty, and suddenly they're right back in it. But the way they went out was just deflating. The last minute of extra time. And it was such a weird thing, because when you watched the game, Loyal had complete control most of the time in that game. Their attack, their press, their possession, it was aggressive. If they lost the ball, they were right back on top of it. I mean, and if you look at the first 2 goals, one was a penalty that there was no reason to generate the penalty. Trejo he wasn't going to score that goal from that position. And then on the next one, when it went, a miscommunication between the back line and the keeper, and it just goes between their legs because the way the Loyal played is they almost played Vegas as a CB at times. So when they get countered quickly, he can be so far out on that line that they just didn't have their spacing. But like those two goals were really they weren't Rising creating good chances. They were just like Loyal not settling into position for the game.
Yeah, you unfortunately see that. Like I think some good examples maybe were early in Pep Guardiola when he took over City, and also similar when Arteta took over Arsenal. They try, even when they control the ball, they're playing so high up. Some of the players are not used to the system. There's a miscommunication, and despite how well they play, those mistakes kill you.
Yeah, and that's definitely what set the narrative for the second half. And you could see Loyal trying everything. They moved more attacking players onto the pitch. I mean, we have to give full credit to Ronaldo with his playoff hat trick. What a way to end the season and kind of the dynasty of what he had created in his time playing at Loyal. Like that's just a way that you'll permanently be forever remembered. Back to the game itself, I think the craziest thing as I watched it all is I saw the goal happening because Phoenix had just been absorbing all of this pressure, all of this attack. They would try to have these breakout counter attacking moments, but they really just couldn't manifest anything. And then I saw it was like reading the end of a screenplay before it happened on the screen in front of you. Camden Riley takes a ball from deep and tries to make one final pressing or one final counter attack, and he cuts up the middle. And the way Loyal was playing with this 3-back line and all of their wing backs up, they were really trying to win the game. And I respect what the Loyal tried to do. They did not try to play for penalties. And anyone that says that watched that game they were playing for penalties, you are so wrong, because this moment in time is exactly what caused the Phoenix Rising team to win. Riley moves all the way up to almost the 18-yard line and gets just stripped of the ball. Clean tackle, clean repossession back, and Phoenix is on a counter. And they already have players tucked up on the wing. They speed up. Now you have Vegas, who's out of position as this like center back, with the rest of them not knowing how to man mark as they're missing Riley. So it's an even numbers game, but everyone's playing a different man mark in a different position, and they couldn't absorb the counter. A 1-2 pass, and with skill, Phoenix Rising puts one in the net with 15 seconds left. In fact, I will even say if he missed that and it wasn't a deflection out to where it would have been a corner for Rising, the game's over and it goes to penalties. That is how close it probably would have happened, because if anything else, Vegas would have sat on it. He would have taken a yellow card, and we would have gotten one final kick, and it would have gone to penalties. And who knows if this narrative would have been different. But the way it ended and the silence that suddenly happened after the locals and all the supporters groups just were bringing the heat for, what is that, 130 minutes? Is that
120?
Well, but plus stoppage time, which was also at like 9 or 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 130 minutes. They've been rocking out hard. It's like everything's on the line. It's just, and it was 1:45 in the morning here, and I just I went to bed questioning reality. That is not how this team wanted to go out, and the team was crushed. Nate Miller was crushed. So I mean, I think all of us were Loyal fans for a moment in time. I actually bought a scarf and a kit. Everything's on clearance, by the way, on their website. So if you want some merch to honor and remember them, feel free to go in. They've got like $5 scarves, $15 kits that were $85 a couple weeks ago. So highly encourage, if there's any inventory left, to go in and check that out. But just pour one out for the Loyal. I wish all of those players, the administration, nothing but love and success, and I just want to congratulate them on putting it all on the line.
Yeah, like I said, it's a shame the way they're going out. We wish them, everyone, the best. Hopefully everyone finds somewhere new to work,
Maybe some to Rhode Island FC. Spoilers, right?
Yeah, there's a new team start next year.
Speaking of new teams that are starting soon, do we, in the spirit of San Diego, do we want to honor one and besmirch the other of FC San Diego or San Diego FC? I don't even care which one it is, but that logo.
Oh man, hashtag not an MLS podcast, but yeah, I'm not digging that logo.
It's atrocious. So I've seen my favorite two are if you've ever shopped at Aldi, it's Aldi FC. It's the logo, it's the exact colors, and even kind of the way they do their grid pattern. It's just more of them exaggerated on the San Diego crest. But my favorite was that someone said that it looks like the butthole to Optimus Prime. That has been my favorite of all of them because it just fits. It doesn't fit the narrative of whatever San Diego's trying to say they are with that Fiverr design, but
There was a meme where they did the thing pointing to the different features of it, and we're just ripping into it, like generic font because we're a generic team, and just
love it. I hope that team fails miserably and never even sees a conference playoff game. That I just want them. They are the new Austin FC. Like I couldn't stand when Austin was created just because of the fact that to make that team happen, it required the almost destruction of the crew. And I just hate the shadiness of how that owner, Anthony Precourt, did what he did. So I've hated that team out of respect for the Columbus OG for a very long time. This team now makes Austin, I don't care anymore about Austin. I still hate Anthony Precourt, but I don't care about Austin anymore. In fact, if we wanted to go further into USL rumors and news, there's other scary things afoot right now going on in the USL. So did you hear the rumor about RGV?
yeah, I saw that. I was like, did I curse them? At least got to get your curses out before your team puts on the field. So you put your voodoo on someone else.
I mean, that's what I used El Paso for, yeah. And then I guess I also did it to the Loyal. So
except for I don't want to see anyone lose their team. Like that's not. I hope they can figure something out, but that would be a shame if we lost another one.
So I don't think it's the success of the team. I think it's the owner. And when I say that, it's a beautiful stadium. I went and did some research on HEB Park or HEB, depending on who you ask. They don't have any events planned in the stadium. So they have all the soccer games, but then there isn't a music show, there isn't a car show, there isn't a fair, there isn't another collegiate sport, there's no music, like nothing is coming there. And I know that Rio Grande Valley doesn't like scream destination, but you could get something in there that, even if it's only 5,000 of the 10,000 capacity that stadium has, you could put butts in seats. And the fact that the owner's not trying to do anything, I think this screams to me that this is an individual who built something and thought it would automatically like be a cash cow, or they would automatically come because he did the work of buying the things to make the first round. Like you have to put time and effort into it. Like let this be a lesson to Rhode Island FC. If they think that like once Tidewater's done, everything is solved in the world and they just stop trying, that this will fail. Like we can't carry that on their backs for them. We can't. Defiance can't do that all. It's a constant evolution and building of your skills, building your product, building the excitement for it. It doesn't just stop. And I feel like with the RGV one, that's what happened. Is the owner's just like, well, I don't understand. I built a stadium. Why is no one sitting in it?
Yeah, not to go off on a huge tangent here, but if we step back and look at like the broader like soccer ownership, I mean that kind of seems to be an issue a lot. Some people are investing into them, like I said, just thinking, hey, I built a stadium, here's the team, it's going to make money. But this often can turns out to be it can make you money, but it's also a very passionate thing. Like you see what over with Wrexham, and then as opposed to maybe a team like they're still making money hand over fist, but like all Manchester United fans hate Manchester United. Right? They're begging to be sold because there's no investment in infrastructure. The people running the club barely know what they're doing. They sign players to sell jerseys, and they're not really putting a coherent product out. It's first world problems. They're still in the mix, but they're not living up to what the expectations are. So that one's very different because that is a storied club. But if you're starting like a brand new club, like here in the USL, or maybe you buy a lower division team somewhere, you're not just automatically gonna. It's not an investment that's just gonna print money. You kind of have to put the work into it. You have to build a product that attracts people, and if you don't have something like that, and you're not thinking to the future, how a lot of stadiums are now, where like, when I'm not putting my soccer team in here, can we get events, other sports, to generate revenue? Because for a lot of the lower division teams, that's how you make the money, is the ticket sales.
Right.
You're not selling jerseys to like some kid in Thailand who's watched the YouTube highlights of your best player. Like, that's just not happening.
I mean, there's one kid probably, but no,
I mean, maybe.
you're right. And let's be honest too. There's a direct correlation here. I think we'll look at the place that RGV finished in, 13th out of 14 teams, and the Light are arguably the Lights are a dumpster fire. So like, if you take that team out of the equation, RGV was dead last in the competitive space. So it's no surprise you can't get seats filled because you don't have a good product and you're not doing anything about it. I mean, again, I don't want to sit here and wax poetic on an unfortunate situation. I hope that they find a resolution, whether that's selling the club to someone else, or that these are just the kind of rumors that happen naturally when we get to the end of the business season. And right now it's not just RGV, right? People are like, oh, the Lights, they're going to fold, right? Or, oh, Hartford is going to go away. We haven't been around long enough to understand, is this just part of the end of the season speculation? If there's smoke, there's fire. Unfortunately, with the RGV one, fans and supporter group members are reporting that they're hearing it, so it's not unsubstantiated. But more to come. So we can't go too long because this is just a cut into the segment. So we'll kind of park it there so listeners can pick back up. I do want to end though, because I feel like we've put a lot of lemons into this cut in, right? Like no season, no ticket or no kit event release party, no San Diego Loyal in the playoffs, and maybe no RGV. So let's at least give some lemonade with these lemons.
Okay, I was gonna say all lemons, no lemonade.
Have you seen the Sharktopus kits?
I have now.
Oh my! I kind of need to buy one.
This gave me a thought here too. If you see a cool jersey and it's not a team that you care or anything about, but just cool jersey, you down to buy?
Only if I know that the team is like.
I mean, like if they're your rival team, like no,
but I mean,
do that. But if they're in some random league and it's just a cool jersey, and you're like, yeah, I'd wear
there's
that.
probably some Italian clubs I would never wear for historical purposes and just their allegiance to certain things. Like there are clubs that probably should be vetted before you put them on your body. I don't think Sharktopus is one of those as an amateur round 3 of the Open Cup bound team out of Seattle. So to answer your question, yes, I think you can, but just don't do it out of ignorance. Make sure you understand what you're putting on, and
taking shots at Lazio.
Hey, I'll give. I wasn't going to say the name, but I'll give you a really good example. What's my favorite non-Premier League team in English football?
I could say this.
Yeah, I think you've
like
said it on this
normally.
podcast before.
I feel like I
hurts my
just
feelings.
said it earlier today.
So it's Plymouth Argyle.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and if I had bought a kit from the goalkeeper 4 years ago, just because I love the club, maybe I like the design of that particular goalkeeper kit. I don't remember what it was, but he was in some sort of legal issue. Like I could be walking around with that on, right? So that scares me from the randomness.
True. That could also be I mean, if you're buying it for the player, that kind of makes sense, but also maybe a reason to just say, hey, this is a random team I kind of enjoy. I'm just going to get the jersey, no name.
Okay. I mean, but if I can control that, sure.
Yeah.
If I can't control that,
Yeah, that's just like a retrospect or like a broader thought. If you were buying, I really like Ibrahimovic, so I bought a Sweden jersey to support him, and it turns out he's actually a bad person. That would suck. But like, if you're like, yo, Plymouth Argyle, I took you to the Champions League in FIFA, you're my team, then you could just maybe buy a Plymouth Argyle jersey just for fun.
Have you ever heard the story of the guy in FIFA who sponsors the back of the left knee of the jersey, and he only sponsors it on their actual real world kit so he can see his company logo while he plays FIFA.
What the Liga MX are you talking about?
I'll pull it up for the next pod. We
I'd
can't go
have to
too
see
much
that
longer.
because the only thing I can think of is I mostly see it in Liga MX, but also
it's
like
a
some
League
South
One
American
or-
leagues where there's just like
Yeah, no, it's League One or League Two,
logos everywhere.
and there's a logo on like the back of the left knee of the shorts of the kit, and he spent like $25,000 so that when he plays the video game at home here in America, he can see his company's logo while he plays his favorite team in FIFA, or now EAFC.
I wish I had money to just do random things.
I think that's how I found out. It was like the silliest things people have spent their money on, and that's in the top 5. But
Must be
anyways,
nice.
Sharktopus FC. 1, the logo is dope. 2, the colors equally dope. 3, the kits are amazing. They've got an away and a home, which, by the way, the sponsor for the kits is Olive & York. They do a lot of good fundraising kits, and they've done a couple podcast ones. I'm not saying to do that now, but maybe down the road as an anniversary, we do some sort of kit collab with this company. But the thing I'm the most excited about saying, the reason it even landed on my radar is there's a chance that we could end up playing Sharktopus FC in the Open Cup. And I am so excited to see if that happens because that would be amazing. So will it happen? It's a West Coast amateur team. I don't think the stars align that well for, even though the Open Cup is quote unquote randomized to a certain extent regionally. I don't think we'll see it, but they could be the darlings of next year's Open Cup. So I'm excited. I hope they make it as far as they possibly can until that contradicts with how far we need to make it. So
Yeah, looking forward to watching the documentary about them in a few years' time when they made it all the way to the end and lost in a 90th minute goal against Inter Miami.
But we'll find out later. This is where Bruce Arena went to coach. There you go. All right. Anyways, listeners, thanks for letting us kind of step in and invade our own episode for today's release. Apologies again, and just look forward to getting some of that information updated in the weeks to come. Don't forget to check the socials for updates on player rumors starting next week.
We now return to your regular scheduled broadcast.
Beep. So when we do find out the complete picture and story, which, gosh, that could even happen before this podcast goes out, we will release an off-cycle announcement, kind of presser on the channels, just to inform everyone of those important pieces of information. Because this is it. This is the moment where we bring together the community in a way that hasn't been done yet. This is where we're going to meet a lot of friends and family that will be, part of that larger, ecosystem, and it's just our moment to shine. So, the club knows they have to get this right. I think the supporters group knows they need to get this right. So, a lot of effort will be put into this, and I just can't wait to have a party and have some fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it's going to be a good time to get a lot of the fans together, get that excitement, like the crescendo. Everyone will finally get to see the kit.
Agreed. Speaking of other fun things that we've been doing recently, you and I had the pleasure of signing some steel. We steeled up.
Bethlehem Steel?
No. That club isn't around anymore, sir.
It's what that.
RIP. So, in another season ticket member event that was recently solicited over email, the club invited some lucky winners out to sign pieces of infrastructure for the club and stadium's build at the Pawtucket Tidewater Landing site. And the club graciously invited us along to be there as both supporters and just, trying to help influence the success of the club. And we got to meet a bunch of really happy season ticket members and just people excited to see this, this stadium get stood up. What was your take on it?
Yeah, it was fun, cool event. We got to talk to some new people. I guess we still got a lot of work to do. If we exclude, Defiance guys, not a lot of people knew who we were.
Were you disappointed by that? Were you just hoping you'd get I
don't want the attention or in that regards, but in the sense of just like we're not recognizable in that sense yet, but like it was a pretty low penetration rate that was just maybe a tad bit disappointing.
You can do the numbers. Only one guy knew who we were out of the 10 or 12 that were there, and I mean, listen, that tracks with what's going. I mean, we haven't advertised, we haven't done anything. This has all been a project that's come word of mouth or where the club has supported us in the past. So the fact that one person could jump the gun and say, "Oh, I know all about you guys," and 10 others were, "Tell me more." I'm not upset with that at the slightest. And also, by the way, before you say anything, shout out to listener Tommy, who we met, who was our fan, who was at the event. Really appreciate your kind words and support of the podcast, and spending some time, sharing your story with us. I look forward to connecting with you, hopefully at the season ticket event, and then also, at the future games. But go ahead. You were gonna.
I guess I just want to say, in a sense, like, not super disappointed, but I feel like the people who would be listening to us would most like that cross section. You know what I mean? Like, would be some of the season ticket members, right?
Yeah, and I think that comes with time. We did not stand this project up to say we would be. We're not doing it for the likes. We're not doing it for the adoration.
No, I don't even see the numbers.
We're doing it so we can control the information that goes out and have our opinion be the loudest opinion. Let's get honest.
Listen to me.
I'm right. You're wrong. But no, the people that were there were really amazing. Age groups of all types. I found it really interesting. We talked to, was it Marty and Linda, I think were the names. And if they're now listeners and we butchered that, I apologize.
Yeah, the Paw Sox fans?
Yeah, and they were season ticket members of the Paw Sox for, they either said 15 or 50. It was a really loud construction site. But they just live for sport in Rhode Island. And when I said, are you soccer fans? They're like, no, we just support the city with our, contribution, and we're passionate about outdoor events and sports, and we're excited to see what this whole soccer thing's all about. It was really funny. They kind of mentioned like where they were sitting, and they have, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, they're committed.
They paid the big bucks. So it was just really fun to get to meet those people. But what did you think so far of the stadium's development? That was the thing that it happened so quick. We signed the steal, and your signature was much better than mine, by the way. Kudos to you. I love that we both did anchors up though, because we signed in separate parts of the event. But what did you think of the overall stadium, the design so far? I thought a lot of progress had been made, more so than what I had been led to believe.
I mean, yeah, the pitch looks like there's no turf or grass or whatever on there right now, but it looks like you pretty much play on that thing.
They said something
leveled
about
out.
that.
He said all of the underwork, the drainage and whatnot is completed, and I think he said you literally could just throw some grass on top of it and it's ready to go.
I agreed. And then I was also surprised at the way they were doing the large monitor for the stadium. I feel like seeing that the screens for games are always on the goal sides of the stadium, and it was really interesting to see that they're going to be putting the largest screen for the games dead center midfield on the river side of the stadium. I had no idea, and I saw it in a rendering later, but I had no idea that was the plan.
I think it has to do with the size of the stadium. When you see it in the ends, it's because the stadium is large enough to put it far enough and back away to give you that barrier, so like the ball doesn't hit it and mess it up.
Right.
From what I've seen in a lot of USL stadiums, like they have people running after balls because they get accidentally kicked out of stadiums sometimes, just because they tend to be smaller in that regards.
Right. And then I know when they started talking about where we were standing, at one point we were standing in the future beer garden, but they didn't serve us beer that day. Then we were standing in one of the parking lots, and I asked where my designated parking spot was. The general manager, Paul Byrne, he pointed to the street and said, you can find parking somewhere out in the city of Pawtucket. So we're going to have to figure that out. Paul, that's not going to work for us at all.
He's just giving you a hard time. They're still working on it.
We're going to have to wrap one of our cars in Rhode Island FC to earn that spot, like right on the beer garden. Just park our car there, walk in, then head back out at the end. That's going to be what it takes.
It's pretty close to that river. We just got to get that pirate boat.
That's a 2025 problem. For 2024, we got to figure something else out. And then we also got some sweet swag.
Yeah, they because it was an active construction site, we had to wear hard hat and flashy vests. I mean, the vests were pretty standard. We gave those back, but at the end, we got to keep that RAFC hard hat.
Nobody wants your sweat and oils and I don't know. Like I know no one has lice in this day and age, but no one wants those hard hats back. But they took the vests. That was the surprising one. The vests they had to keep or they could recycle, but they didn't want your stinky helmets back. But yeah, so it was a great time. Like I said, all around. The fans were supportive. I'm sure the video of it is already probably out, and we're in it. I saw the pictures of us doing the 80s movie flashback high five, which we'll post on the socials way in advance. But it was just a good time all around. And what I do want to say to listeners that are maybe saying, "Oh, we didn't get to go to that." This was the first of many opportunities for you to participate and connect to the club directly. Rhode Island FC has every intention to bring as many fans into this project as possible. So what you put into it is what you'll get back. So continue to check your emails for those great updates and opportunities. And I know that, people will be rewarded as best as we can, with this many fans. But it's definitely going to be a labor of love and a passion project for the club to connect with as many fans and family as possible. So on that, let's shift gears to some merch. And I'm not pitching our merch. I will at the end of the pod, but not right now. Let's talk Rhode Island FC merch. What did you think of the merch announcements?
Yeah, so those of you who are subscribed to get emails from the club may have recently got an email. And there was some new merch in there. We got 2 hoodie jackets. There's a T-shirt, and then there was like a baby kind of
baby gear. Yeah.
Baby gear.
Baby gear. No pet gear. That's what I want. I want pet gear. Give me some bandanas. Give me a dog shirt for my dog. The club has discriminated against me by only thinking of human children and not people with dog children.
I know, they never think of the pet parent.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't think of pet parents at the same time as kids, but I digress. What did you think of the merch?
I like one of the jackets a lot, and the shirt's pretty cool. I like that kind of clean, old kind of look where before they had logos, when the kind of the shirts were very simple. Kind of reminds me of that.
Would you call that a ringer tee? Because people have called it a ringer tee since it has the collar and the caps on the arms. But I think of ringer tee as that like 80s white T-shirt with the bright red actual ringer on it. What do you even care? Is this a question that you're like, why are you asking me right now?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. When you say ringer tee, like it, I've not heard that like used.
Do you need an example?
Is it like those?
You know that shirt your wife has with like the dead science or whatever?
Yeah, like
that's a ringer tee.
Summon ghosts or something.
Yeah, that's a ringer tee.
Okay. I think this one was like the 3 stripes, right? So slightly different, maybe.
You technical son of a gun.
Technicalities.
How
the worst. Like to do it here.
The worst Mortal Kombat finishing move. Technicality. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the hoodies were awesome. I'm a little curious if we're going to end up buying the same merchandise because we've tried our entire lives to make sure we don't fall into that trap. So dibs on the dark blue hoodie.
Oh, you can't just call dibs on
I just called dibs on a podcast, which makes it super, super official. Sorry. You can buy the original hoodie with just the logo of Dead Center. I'm going to buy the sweet new one.
How dare you?
But yeah, there's new merch. It's coming around the corner. It probably is out by the time this is out, and if not, it will definitely be out before, in tandem with the kit reveal. So just be prepared to be even more broke. That's what this club means to the true fans. But what I wanted to share is that ringer tee was selected because it was voted upon in some of the social media platform posts that they did earlier this year during kind of the noise of when Coach was really just showing up and being announced and getting his feet wet with the club. And so it was kind of like one of those lost things that happened. And I distinctively remember that there was also a Christmas sweater, an ugly Christmas sweater that was voted on which one you thought was the uglier of the two. So my guess is here, and the club has not confirmed this yet, but my guess is that we will also see an ugly Christmas sweater by the holiday season, maybe even at the kit reveal. Don't know. What
Black Friday special?
Oh, sign me up. Well, I mean, we get the season ticket member discount anyway, so I mean, that'll cover the taxes, right? And the shipping. I don't know. I wouldn't actually order it and have it shipped. I'd just go to the front office.
It's not too far away.
Yeah, and it's Rhode Island. Come on, that's for people. That's for people that live near Hartford or something like that. They want to join a better club. But having said that, I am really curious. So listeners, if you're one of those people that like took screenshots of the post, send it to me. DM it to me. I want to know what the two options were because I think I remember seeing them. But my mind is already wandering to really terrible versions of an ugly Christmas sweater, and I've seen other soccer clubs do them, so it's kind of difficult to make sure that that's what I remember seeing. So listeners, if you have that, please send it my way, because I'll be also buying the ugly. And if there's only one, that's the time where we can match. But you cannot buy the same sweatshirt as me
when there's only one.
Yeah, that's allowed. So unless they're releasing both, and spoiler alert. But, that's how it goes. So stay tuned. More exciting stuff all the time. Go get a second job. Take out a second mortgage. Whatever you have to do to just make sure that you're totally prepared. And then this will probably be too late. I don't know when it ends, but in terms of merch that you don't have to buy, the club does have a program running right now on their social media where if you sign up for events or you sign someone else up that you know their personal details, they will receive a free car magnet. So their goal is to quickly get as many people out there, as many road warriors as possible, repping the crest. We have it on all of our vehicles. So
yeah, we're going to buy more vehicles just to put more on them.
I mean, I'm down. I have to put one on the van, actually. Remind me to do that. We got to throw it on the van. So yeah, they said it was going to run for the entire month of October. It would take 2 to 3 weeks to ship those out. So from the date you requested it and registered your information. So be mindful of that, and hopefully it's still running to the end of this month because we're right near Halloween for this release. So stay tuned for that. But really excited merch that's coming, and really excited to see the free offerings that are being extended by the club. But on top of that merch, we also had a new edition of information drop in the email, and that was around Kano's Corner.
Yeah, he's encroaching our territory here now.
So do you remember when I said it'd be interesting if the club ever started doing some kind of like internal competition, like official Rhode Island FC insider? They've put Coach against us now. He's spilling the beans on his own plans before we can spill the beans on the plans we've learned about him.
You hate to see it happen.
This is not going to work. We're gonna have to do something about this. I don't know what yet. But in all fairness, I mean, it's really funny, too, because the club has been supportive and informing us of things, but then they've asked us, like, these are the dates that you can share these things. Well, now we know that some of the things they've shared is because Coach had to say it first. And I get it, whatever, it's his team. He deserves the right to do that. But
I guess so.
When you're sitting on things like we have multiple players signed, and it's like, oh, we can't say anything. Okay, but I digress. However, that being said, for listeners, if you want to hear what's going on in the club, go check it out. Either in the email that you received, or you can check out the club's Rhode Island FC YouTube account.
Yeah, it's on there.
It's really interesting. They tend to post things a day, sometimes or two in advance to get it ready. I don't know if they lock the video behind a wall, but I've noticed that when I see something, I'm like, oh, this is groundbreaking, hot off the press, breaking news. I go and look at the post, like the water stamp or the timestamp on the video, and it's like, this was listed 3 days ago. What's going on here? So I don't know if the way that algorithm works, they get it prepped as professionals and like schedule it out, but it just kind of always is like, this isn't 5 minutes fresh, this is a couple of days. So interesting nevertheless.
Yeah, I think you can post things private to begin with. I don't know, but often you find when things get leaked, it's because people screw things up.
Like when the season ticket scarves got released a month earlier than the intended time. Agreed. But what I did find really interesting, besides the teasers of the player announcements, is that he did also reference that some of his support staff is out scouting remotely. And I've only seen Coach Spratt and Coach Kano in the local front office, and I'm attached to Coach's socials by the hip, so I know what he posts. I see it. I mean, I was at the Hartford game and I saw he was there, so I went and tracked him down in the stands, and I don't think he was in the mood to talk to me at the time. I mean, not because he's nothing but the greatest of gentlemen, but because he had a job to do and he was there to watch soccer, not talk shop with, the quote unquote media. So I'm very aware of his comings and goings, and watch, he bans me now. But I don't know much about where McKay, where Carey and are in terms of, are they traveling? Are they doing things that are scouting or supporting infrastructure players, building networks? Like, I don't know anything about their social media presence. They may not post at all. That's not a requirement to be an assistant coach. But
maybe intentionally too, so they can kind of, get stuff done without causing a lot of attention.
Right. Or throw out false leads. You have a connector in, I don't know, Wichita. Like, oh, look, I'm in Wichita. What's going on in Wichita? But they're just...
Why is Dave McKay at the Galatasaray game?
I didn't even know there was a club in Tasmania. So yeah, so if listeners, if you know their socials, please let me know. And if they're active, let's start creating the tracking network so we can start fueling the rumors of additional players coming inbound, because I think that's a perfect segue. We have some things to talk about when it comes to player rumors. And again, this could be all completely wrong, or it could be completely right, but it's already been announced, and we just look like we're Nostradamus, but from the past, because we still recorded this a few weeks in advance. So no clue on how announcements work. That being said, I do want to start our player rumor conversation with a little bit of a conspiracy theory. Is this our first conspiracy theory? Or I feel like maybe we've had another one already. Was it maybe like the parking? The parking was kind of a conspiracy theory,
Conspiracy
right?
report.
Yeah. So when we were asking the club for additional details about the kit reveal, and they gave us what they could, we started talking timelines, and in that time we were working also with the USL League operations team to understand when could we hear player announcements, because after the Brett Louie interview where he had said that their hands were tied when it came to certain announcements, we didn't understand how that worked. And so we reached out to the league, and they had specifically stated that you can only announce a domestic player transfer within the league after that club's season has terminated. So what that means is that until the club is eliminated from playoff contention, because we're coming up on playoffs, they can't announce any kind of transfer. And if you paid attention to Coach's conversation in the Kano's Corner, it was the same thing where they had shared that they have players signed, but they just can't quite get that out the door just yet. So that has us thinking that these are going to be USL players, and they're also playoff players, because I think you could announce if you were picking up the Vegas or Hartford Athletic players at this point, right?
Yeah, there's 3 teams right now eliminated.
What's the third?
Loudon.
Okay. So having said that, that doesn't exactly narrow the net down, and that's not what we're saying here. But what was really interesting to me is when you go back to the date for the announcement of the kit, that's removed from the last possible date that the USL Championship Cup match can be played. So in effect, the entire season is over when we see our season kit reveal. And what better way to celebrate that jersey than to have your first player for the club in that kit? So you can pick up what I'm putting down, and it has not been confirmed. I haven't even talked to the club about this, but the conspiracy theory wired brain in my head tells me that this was intentional, and that we will see a player, maybe the very first player announcement at that event. What are your thoughts?
They'll do like full-blown runway. Will come out striding their stuff in the new kit.
I don't know. This is Victoria's Secret's, Fashion Week here, but and I also think too that a lot of people won't probably know the name unless it's Joe Corona.
Yeah, unless it's a big signing. I don't know how many of our fans here are like diehard USL people, so it's unlikely that if not that they would actually do like a runway thing, but they'll have to kind of announce them and then bring him out.
Right,
You know,
right. And people will be excited to see the first player, but I don't know if you can put that much of a spotlight on him. Yeah, to your point. But anyways, that's my personal theory that I'm subscribing to. Watch, we find out like a player gets announced next week, and it doesn't even matter at this point. But I just think the timing. There's a saying like if it's convenient, it probably isn't. It's probably something else, right? And so I am fully on board. I'm on track. So yeah, so that's what I 100% believe. So
I want to believe.
that show was ahead of its time, by the way. But then in the spirit of the transfer, so that was just our theory on the first player that we'll hear announced. But as the coach mentioned, there are several players announced. We've actually heard it's as many as 3 or 4 already when it comes to confirmed signings. And if I'm being honest, the San Diego Loyal noise will not go down. It will not go away. We joked early on that we should just sign the entire Loyal team and then start from that blueprint and expand. But it seems like the club may be doing something very similar to our suggestion. So again, they're just taking our notes. They're stealing our homework. There are several rumors out there that we're picking up 1 to 2 players for sure from the Loyal, and then as many as 3 from that roster. In terms of names, we don't have the ability to confirm anything as absolute, but we do know that outside of the club, we're hearing some noise around one particular player. And so kind of just to reinforce the conversation we had earlier in the series around loyal players and who we'd like to see pick up, I think it's only fair that we draw some of that extra attention on 3 particular players, all forwards, by the way, in Moshabani, Conway, and Ronaldo Demus. So those are all forwards for the club. What are your thoughts there?
We're gonna go with Ronaldo Demus to appease the Portuguese contingent.
Wait, isn't he Haitian?
Yeah, it's just because his name's Ronaldo. It's just a
okay.
dumb joke.
Love it.
It'll be
I
like
love
we have Ronaldo at home meme.
Oh, that's the release. That's the troll. Club starts saying Ronaldo confirmed and signed, and they give him the 7. Perfect. There you go. We did it. Everyone, go to bed. It's good. No, but so in all seriousness, all 3 of those players are doing amazing this season with the Loyal. Moshabani and Conway, we've shared earlier, are lighting the league on fire with some of their performances. I imagine that those 2 players will probably be hotly contended for, and probably Demus as well, if I'm being honest. But I think it's easier to bring in a player like Demus while others are fighting for the number 1 and 2. And when you look at what he's produced this season, by no means is it even fair to say that he's, a backup or 3rd string kind of forward. He may be the lesser in terms of the rankings of his counterparts at forward, but he's put up 9 goals and 2 assists in 15 starts with 29 total appearances. Any striker that's getting less than half the playing time and is at borderline double digits, that's the player you want on your roster.
Yeah, so those are pretty good numbers. I think he would be a good pickup if we can manage that.
I agree. And, the only complication to it and the only reason we may not be able to announce a Ronaldo at the season ticket event is he is on loan. He's on an active loan with GIF Sundsvall, which is a 2nd-tier Swedish football team. And that loan expires on November 30th. And so, we don't know what the club option contracts are for that. So it could be very much they're continuing forward with whatever extension the club has to execute, or it's over and, maybe they'll just release him again at the end of the USL season because they're not bringing him back to Sweden. But having said that, we could either see this player or we could hear an announcement, after Thanksgiving, after the 30th, or we're completely wrong and it's a different player because we've also heard that they're looking into a defender, and this just brings back the ginger contingent we had joked about earlier. So you need to brace yourself because I can't confirm it's happening, but it's going to happen. Oh yeah, heck yeah. So, anyways, all I can say for sure is it's very loud in the San Diego Loyal space that we will be picking up one, maybe two players from that at the immediate. We can't confirm if those are the players that have already been signed. Surprise, surprise, the club's been very cagey about confirming that kind of information with us. So we just have to bear in mind that will be news that comes as we get it.
So I think that's it here for our conference standings. You got something about some dirty players? They not taking
Whoa.
showers or
Whoa?
What's going on here?
Segue into the notes. I'm gonna have to write something different. Like those notes are for me to talk to you, and you just picked up on it and decided to take this on a tangent. I
just
love it.
rolling with the punches or whatever.
I love it. So I was looking at some of the excellent work that John Morrissey at USL Tactics does around breaking down club performance and total league play as we prepare for next season. And I thought it would be great to do some homework on kind of some of the behaviors, both at the club level and at the player level, around fouls and the performance that is, reciprocated or resulting in card accumulation for the league. Just so that we knew, again, the homework for me was knowing what teams would be scrappier, what teams would be more difficult when it comes to the physicality of the game. I have started listening on some other podcasts where they're starting to introduce the ref performance into the game in terms of what kind of matches they call, and I find that really fascinating. That's probably absolutely something that coaches take into consideration, where maybe a ref keeps his cards in his pocket more often than not. And then maybe there's a ref where, if they slip on their own, they call, a yellow card on a phantom ghost or a phantom fan that, tripped this player up. And, so having said all that, jokes aside, I wanted to just really do the kind of deeper review of what John has been pulling as far as data for the clubs. And it was really fascinating because one, when you looked at the fouls per minute in this league, either refs are keeping their cards in their pocket, or we have some really well-behaved players in the sport. I've seen in other leagues where some of your biggest attitude or wild card risk-esque players will average a foul every, I think the minimum is 140 minutes, because after a certain amount, you end up accumulating yellow cards, and then you accumulate the suspensions for consistent bad performance. But there were less than 20 players in the entirety of this league that have an average of 290 minutes or less per foul. And so when you look at kind of what that is, the highest number of fouls that are recorded in the league right now are at 15 fouls. So whether that's a defender, a midfielder, having only 15 fouls in over 30 games, that's not a bad stat. And furthermore, what was really interesting is when I looked at the names of the players on this list, a lot of them are on the West Coast when it comes to the conference. So, I know that we play one home and one away with all of the East teams, but we only play the West side once, whether that's home or away. So to me, it's like our dirtiest games, to your point about showering, we're going to have to be showering after some West Conference action.
I mean, they don't call it the Wild West for nothing.
Yeah, so I mean, you can see the stats on the screen here. What is your take on this? I just, does this look like it's atypical for a league of this size, or do you've been watching other international leagues much more in detail than I do? What's your analytical take on this?
Yeah, I admit I don't look at the foul stat a lot, so I'm curious. I'll have to check that out for a different league. But I kind of didn't expect to only see like 3 players in double digits, and like a lot of them are just 3. So I'm thinking that maybe they're kind of not letting them chop each other down, but kind of maybe letting them play to a certain extent.
So just play through the hit.
A little bit.
See, that's interesting, and because we said at the beginning when we started watching the game, as we were starting this podcast, it was interesting because we would see at times not poor defending, but that kind of almost sensational forward breaking loose and running with it to where you didn't see defenders trying to murder a player or stop something from happening. I don't know if that's in direct correlation to what we've witnessed as we've watched games and tried to understand the dynamic of the league. But again, to your point, it's just, again, 3 players have accumulated double-digit fouls. They're all center backs, and they're all in the West Coast. So take that for what it is. But then the other interesting thing here is the fact that when you look at the same number of total fouls for the clubs, I thought it was really interesting when you look at on the average there are several players, and again, all except for one, I think, in the future version of the West Coast or Western Conference, because Tulsa will be moving over, so there is a Tulsa player here, but they're averaging 11 cards for the same number of fouls. So only this season, 4 players have earned double-digit cards, and again, in the top 20, you've got something like an average of 6 cards per foul accumulation at 145 minutes of foul. So it's just really, again, I don't know if this is a gentleman's league and we're going to be expected to play as such, or if there is chaos and anarchy and we're just not seeing it in the stats.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll have to kind of pay attention to that. I'm pretty sure I knew this, but like seeing his name on there, I totally forgot about Juan Agudelo.
Juan Agudelo. Yes, I'm so glad you brought that
up. The legend.
The legend. I did not know he went down to the USL. I saw Emil Cuello also in the USL now. He had a banger a week or two ago. So it's always interesting to see MLS players that come down a league. Agudelo is on Birmingham, and so when we looked at the numbers for the performances of the teams with kind of the most foul accumulation and the quote unquote dirtiest players, it looks like it'll be Birmingham, Charleston, and Pittsburgh, which are kind of the only clubs that really we need to watch out for. Louisville plays like a saint; they have virtually no fouls, and then Memphis and Loudoun kind of round out some of it. But again, this entire table is super stacked with West Coast teams, with the Tulsa, Sacramento Republic, and San Antonio kind of really leading the charge there. And then what's crazy about saying those particular teams is when you look at the fouls to card ratio for the entirety, because the table we were just talking about only really showed the meanest and dirtiest of players. When you look at the amount of fouls committed versus cards converted, so this is basically where the clubs are getting their luckiest, where they're not getting penalized for the fouls they're committing. San Antonio FC, way out in front in terms of like the luck value here. They are averaging over 15 fouls for every 2.8 cards issued. And no surprise, they're one of the front runners in the league right now. So there is a direct correlation there where how often you get away with a foul without punishment is how kind of well your team will perform. And the reason I can say that is because if San Antonio is on one side of it, take a guess on what club is doing the worst when it comes to this, quote unquote luck schematic.
I'm gonna guess someone who's at the bottom, who's not too far from us.
Good old Hartford Athletic. They have the highest card to foul ratio in terms of they're averaging over 3.2 cards for every 13 fouls. So they're on the complete opposite side of the spectrum where they're getting punished for all of their cards, which could be, and again, it's not all luck. It could be that they're just making really bad fouls due to, emergency defending, dog-so, just things that are out of their control because their team's not built really well. But it's really interesting to see that, or I guess it's not. It's just you hate to see the fact that the best clubs, they're really stretching that number, and the worst clubs are in the doghouse.
Yeah, I think some people kind of forget or maybe don't think about it too much, but I mean, fouling is part of the game too, in the sense that learning how to foul at the right time and being smart about your fouls can like really help a team. I know everyone hates them, but like tactical fouls can be like a huge thing when you're like, you know what, I just got to take one for the team. We're in midfield. I know this guy's as fast. Like, you know, trying to prevent a goal.
Right.
It sucks, but it is part of the game.
100%. 100%.
Smart players will use that to their advantage.
Agreed. I remember watching it wasn't Open Cup. I remember watching the Gold Cup a few years back, and I remember there was a team that was just chopping down the USMNT, and they did it tactically, where they would pick up a foul to stop the momentum of an attack that was building, because their defense couldn't handle if they got, you know, too close to the goal. And so they would chop them, you know, well beyond the 18, and they'd have to do these set pieces, which would allow, I think it was El Salvador, to be honest, which would allow them to reset and configure to stop the next wave of the American attack. And you just watched it, and every player would deliberately go hack, stop the play, wouldn't get carded the first time, the second time, or the third time, fourth time, because it was you had so many players back, it wasn't something that was directly changing the outcome of a moment in time. So I remember it was such a boring game to watch, because it was just like almost watching teams play set pieces against each other.
Yeah, CONCACAF's going to CONCACAF. It's either just like a boring hack fest, or it's just like complete and utter chaos.
Yeah, if players aren't broken, then people are asleep. But it is absolutely mostly that. But, you know, so we've talked about the sneakiest club. We've talked about the bad club. I think it's just a shout out. You know, we gotta recognize gentlemen, you know, civility where it needs to be called out. So for whatever this is worth, Detroit City FC, they are gentlemen on the pitch. They have the lowest foul conversion for the year, and then they have the lowest card accumulation result from that foul. And when I say they're the lowest, I mean they're almost in a field completely by themselves. The only other team that is close is Monterey Bay Union, but they're on the West Coast, so we don't need to worry about them as much. But for whatever that's worth, again, Detroit City FC, they're being the darlings of the league.
Yeah, is it that teddy bear they got? He's just too friendly, you know. They're like, oh, look at that guy. You can't give him a card.
It's a lifestyle choice, you know. Like, we got to emulate the mascot. What would Teddy do? Too good. So, anyways, we wanted to share that because we do want to start dropping snippets of what we can expect to see when it comes to USL performance in the year to come. I think that will probably be the biggest learning curve for fans. Is, you know, it's really easy to start learning and being excited about Rhode Island FC, but learning what kind of gamesmanship and style of play we can, you know, look to see when it comes to the people coming to Bern Stadium. By the way, it's Bern. We need to talk about that.
We messed it up.
We messed it up.
We were gaslighted.
We were straight up hoodwinked. So we have gotten 1,000 pronunciations wrong on this podcast. I won't pretend that we're good at that, but we intentionally reached out and requested for people to help us with some of the terminology where we weren't sure about things, and we weren't sure if it was Bern, Bernie, or I don't even remember. There was like a fourth one, and we were told by people on the Discord that it was Bernie Stadium. So when I have to go and interview someone, very important, and they tell me, why are you calling it Bernie Stadium? Shame on the people on the Discord. Shame on the listeners who tricked me. You embarrassed me. You embarrassed family here. How dare you? So we owe at least 26 retractions minimum, maybe like 126, because I feel like I've said Bernie. I almost made a Bernie Sanders meme about Bernie State. I'm so glad I didn't. But and you know, the other way I realized it to confirm it, because I thought the person that told me first was just trying to trick me. I talked to Paul Byrne, who's the general manager of stadium operations for Rhode Island FC, and he's overseeing the management of Byrne Stadium. That's a joke that writes itself. Paul Byrne in charge of Byrne, and I'm so disappointed in us right now. You mostly. You're the problem here.
Old Jason over here just screwing up all these names.
You know, you had one job.
It's because I can't read.
I tried to tell them that. They didn't buy it. So anyway, so for those of you that have been listening, screaming at us for being ignorant and dumb for calling it the wrong thing, I apologize. I apologize for calling your home by the wrong name. I wouldn't want that to happen. So,
Or it's your fault for listening to us.
actually, you got a point. They've chosen to listen this long, so yeah, that's on you then. And you could have told us in the socials instead of us interviewing someone of importance and getting corrected there. So yeah, I'm back on track. This is your fault, listeners. So having said that, I just again wanted to have the opportunity for us to share a little bit more about the league. If you're curious about tactics or analytical presence, and you're not already following John Morrissey and USL Tactics, I cannot highly recommend that enough. I feel like he has analytics on the daily. So give John Morrissey a like, give him a follow. He's on a bunch of different media spectrums, as well as some really great stacks that he writes for. So just again, give him all the love and kindness. We couldn't be sounding nearly as smart as we do without John's influence and knowledge. So what events we got?
All right. On Saturday, 10/28, Defiance 1636 will host their Real College Tour final as they participate to support Brown versus Dartmouth. Details are on their socials and Discord. Tailgating starts at 5 p.m. and you can use the promo code RIFC23 to score $5 tickets.
That's tomorrow. So get on it and get those tickets.
Time traveled. Also, same day, Roger Williams Park Spooky Zoo.
So the club will be at both. It looks like they'll be at the, I don't know, maybe they won't be at both. Who knows?
I mean, how late are zoos up? Well, I guess if you want
Spooky Zoo, it's nighttime.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's the Spooky Zoo. And then we've got we still got the open tryouts. That's still coming. We've talked about that. So, we're going to pick up some players maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, by the time this one's out, that'll be like 2 weeks away?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to meet additional listeners at that. I'm sure it's going to be a fun turnout and to meet all kinds of people at that event.
Yeah, I hope to see some good talent there.
So we have some listener questions again. I think they did not appreciate the merchandise plug last time, even though we have been selling merch. I don't want to brag or anything. It's nothing crazy to report, but appreciate the listeners that have. We've called out a few that have done that already. So continue to give us all the monies. I'm going to plug it anyways, even though I said I wouldn't do this if there were listener questions. We have new merch coming. We've got a hoodie ourselves, and it's dope. I am really proud of it. And then also, we have a t-shirt that people in our social media requested. So if you've been paying attention to the comments that get left, they're not a lot. Let's get honest. We don't have that many fans yet. But you can anticipate a really fun shirt coming your way in the near future. But that's enough. I'm not going to go any further than that. Let's get to these questions.
All right. So we got one here from Kevin, and he wants to know, who is our soccer Mount Rushmore for both the men's and women's national team?
Is that a combined or separate? Should we separate it? There's enough players. We should probably separate that, yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do an exercise at the end on the combined one. Okay. All right. So what do you want to start with, men or women?
Let's knock out this women's national team, our more successful one.
All right. You want to go one person at a time?
Okay. Mia Hamm?
Wow. Wow. You stole the easiest one.
Stole the easiest one.
Okay, just, steal the person that was defined a generation and decades of women's sport. Okay, well, can we duplicate, or does that make us look weak?
Are we making a combined one, or are we making our own?
I don't know. What do you want to do? Do you want to combine this?
Let's just combine it.
Okay. All right, so I agree with that one. Mia Hamm, absolutely. Abby Wambach.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, what do you got next?
I mean, she's still playing, but do you think we put my brain's getting empty. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't, because I'm afraid you're going to say the wrong person. Is the sickness fatigue finally kicking in?
It's getting late in the night. My brain's turning to mush.
You're not thinking of Megan Rapinoe, right?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So then you're thinking of Alex Morgan.
There you go.
Okay, because I was scared you would say Megan Rapinoe. I don't think she deserves a spot on the Mount Rushmore of soccer. The same way that you might argue that Hope Solo is one of the best goalkeepers they've ever had, but she also does not deserve a spot on Mount Rushmore.
There's some controversy around her. I wouldn't put her on there either.
Right.
But yes, I was thinking of Alex Morgan.
Okay, I agree. And so then the fourth has to be Carly Lloyd?
Yeah, I think that is a solid.
That is the
Mount Rushmore.
I agree. Okay. Men's. I'm going to go first this time.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to take Landon Donovan as the easy one here.
Okay.
I mean, unless you disagree.
No,
Of course not. That would be criminal.
You have to have him on there.
Just breathe into that mic. Yeah.
Just struggling here. My brain is.
Do you even U.S. men's national team, bro?
I do. I've just.
Sick brain only gets an hour and 10 minutes.
Remember, I'm only at 90%,
right.
not 100. Not
right.
100.
Come on, big boy. We can finish
What's,
this strong.
Mr. Howard?
Oh, Secretary of Defense. Absolutely. Great choice. Great choice. I concur. All right. I am going to go. See, this is easy one too, which means you're going to struggle even more with the last one because this is where it really opens up. But I think the third one has to be Clint Dempsey, the Deuce.
Oh, yeah. I love me some Clint Dempsey.
Agreed. But I think number 4 is where it kind of gets wild. It gets crazy. Who's the name you want to throw out there? And don't say Alexi Lawless. Don't say Taylor. Was Taylor Twellman even a U.S. men's national? Did he make it into the U.S. men's national team, or was he like just a Revs guy? I don't even care. I don't even want to. Neither one of them are allowed on the Mount Rushmore.
You had kind of brought this up and we talked about it, like maybe a Michael Bradley, a Kobe Jones.
I don't know if a player.
Carlos Bocanegra.
So
maybe.
That one's a good one because there's no defender in the Mount Rushmore yet.
DeMarcus Beasley.
That's another good one. It's weird. I'm almost hesitant to not allow anyone from the 2018 Lost generation to be allowed. Like they're automatically disqualified, which would put out Michael Bradley for that very reason. I think that any team that couldn't get into the World Cup from a qualifier stage, no matter what, which would also then put Pulisic in that same camp. But I say that all because I think there are better players, at least as of now, to put on Rushmore. Maybe Pulisic earns his way down the road. I could see Carlos. I could also see, if you want another forward, Brian McKnight. He kind of lived in the shadow of Dempsey and Landon. And then Kobe Jones is a good one. I wasn't following the sport well enough to be able to speak to his contribution. I mean, I know of what he did for MLS and for the Galaxy, but I don't know if that translated to American soccer in general.
It's crazy too. We had some really good goalkeepers too, like Brad Friedel and Casey Keller. But like you don't want to just like a bunch of goalkeepers up there, but like they were very solid.
Would you even put Brad Guzan in the top 4 of goalkeepers for America?
Yeah, I mean, I think he would probably round that out. I think the others are probably better than him, but he has been a great goalkeeper through the years.
Okay, instead of Alexi Lawless or Taylor Twellman, you go for the off-brand announcer pick, Hercules Gomez. Or even more chaotic, Eric Winalda.
Yeah, Eric Winalda.
And then if you want to get really crazy, I mean, and this man was considered one of the best players for the U.S. men's national team ever, Claudio Reyna.
Yeah, possibly. Do you think he's still playing right now? Do you think DeAndre Yedlin will be looked back as one of the top?
No, because he's part of the lost generation, and if anything, he serves as a veteran presence. But
yeah, I mean, I guess we're talking about as for the USA men's, but I feel like in terms of like club, like he's always been
an MLS
top
Hall of Fame. Yeah, he started with Sounders, went abroad, came back, and now he'll win everything in the next season or two with Inter. So. No, yeah. Yedlin deserves his name out there as one of the best right backs. But anyways, I'm going to say Carlos Bocanegra. I think that rounds out. You have forwards, you have a goalkeeper, and you have at least a defender. So and Landon was technically at one point in his career midfielder, creative mid.
Yeah,
so, yeah, that works
creative
perfectly.
Midfielder forward. Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Now, do you even bother to try doing the women and men combined, or is it pretty easy? Because I think it actually might be pretty easy.
So what like you would tie that down to
the best 4 of that group.
So like Mia Hamm, Landon Donovan.
Yep, those are easy.
And then
I would say Abby,
and then we got one more guy to round it out.
I would say, I mean, I love Tim Howard, Clint also did a lot. So, Clint Dempsey. We favor the strikers. We favor the attacking players. So yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, I'm happy with
what's
that.
really important is Chris Wondolowski was nowhere in that conversation. So that's all that matters.
That goal he missed. But
We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. We're not talking about it. Didn't happen.
It's almost been 10 years now.
I think is it? Oh yeah, good call.
2014.
We don't talk about it. Well, that was a great question, Kevin. Kevin, I wonder if that's the Kevin from New Mexico, the number one fan from New Mexico United.
Oh, possibly.
If it was Kevin, that was a great question. And if it wasn't that Kevin, you should be asking good questions like that. I don't know what to tell you, man. You're always supporting the club on socials, so get to asking. No, I'm just kidding. We love you all the same. And then we have one other question for the night, which I thought was fascinating.
All right, and we got another one here from Chris. What podcasts do you listen to?
I love that you think we listen to podcasts. We make podcasts, sir. We don't have time to. I'm just kidding. Do you want to go first? Give us your top 5.
Oh, top 5. Well, I listen to Football Weekly. I also listen to like the Giant Bomb cast and their like family of podcasts. They do a few different ones there. I also I more recently got into the USL show. Trying to listen to a lot of music again too. Sometimes I go up and down, where like sometimes it's just all podcasts, and I was like, you know what? Actually, music is pretty good too.
That's fair. I mean, that's a good list.
Not all the time, but I do occasionally join me some Men in Blazers as well.
So I've stopped listening to them. I don't know why. They're not a bad podcast.
For me, this is a podcast thing, but it's the consistency. It's the thing is, Raj and Devo are not always together because like he's off doing other things, and then it'll be a lot of like solo ones, and so that's why I kind of just drop in from time to time and listen. I like their chemistry of them together, and it's just if it's just one of them, it's just them.
So the same thing for us. We always have to be together. You are never allowed to leave me. Okay. Tell your wife you've signed a contract. So in the soccer world, I listen pretty regularly to the USL show. It gives me the insider information. And again, John Morrissey, shout out. He is a panelist on that. So really good to understand the league. I highly encourage it. I also listen to Revolution Recap. I'm surprised, or spoiler, we're not Revs fans, but knowing what's going on with that team, and Greg puts out an amazing show with his team of co-hosts. I also listen to New England Soccer. They are an amazing group that bring kind of just all soccer things to the masses. So it's not just professional, it's also collegiate, it's youth academy, it's sometimes coach tutorials, just really good. And so I find that. And then I've been listening to periodically, I listen to some of the USL podcasts and around the league. If you're interested in listening to other teams, I highly recommend the El Paso Locomotive Group at Seriously Loco, and then also the River Hounds group under Mons Goals. I think it's Mons Goals. They've never really said their name in the ones I've listened to. They just kind of start, but they put a really good product out. And then in non-soccer time, I listen to a lot of murder ones with the girlfriend. I think that's like a requirement, because women just love listening to how to kill people and get away with it.
Because they want to know how to kill us.
I mean, yeah, at least mine do. And so we just finished a really gut-wrenching one. So if you want a really good podcast, look up Bone Valley. You will not be happy with it because it's just gut-wrenching of all the things that can happen to a human being. It just kind of makes you look in the mirror and go, how am I this lucky that I'm not, in that kind of situation? But Bone Valley, very good. And then I listen comedically to Last Pot on the Left. I love the history side of it, the fascination with murderers and the occult and all that stuff. That's a really fun one. And then I've been recently picking up How Did This Get Made with some of the guys from The League, the fantasy football TV show that was on FX. So those have been really fun to pass the time. I've actually gone the other direction and stopped listening to music because I like find myself compartmentalizing into the same bands over and over and over. And so it's one of those things where I almost don't want to listen to new music. And so podcasts have just been a better creative outlet. So really good questions today. Mount Rushmore and podcasts. I love it. Now, anyone out there that just listened to our recommendations, you still have to legally listen to us. Like, let's just make sure we set the record
they wanted
straight.
to know where they could jump ship.
Oh, we just betrayed ourselves. But I think that wraps things up pretty nicely. You're fading fast. I can see the sickness returning to your face. Maybe just because you've had to share a room with me for too long.
Glossiness in my eyes.
But for the listeners, we do have 2 interviews on the horizon. So we have an interview with the mayor of Pawtucket, as well as we finally secured we got the big fish. We hooked him. Coach Kano is going to be sitting down with the pod in the near future, and I am going to ask him as many questions as we possibly can in the span of whatever time they give us. So we will find out where he eats, and we will find out if he gets cold brew from Trader Joe's. I promise you, listeners, that will happen. But where can they find us, Jason?
All right, guys. We got a Twitter at RAFC Podcast. We got a Threads at RAFC Podcast. Instagram at Raising Anchor. And then you can check out our website at www.raisinganchorpodcast.com. Do you know that www is more syllables than saying World Wide Web?
I hate you.
It's so ridiculous, isn't it?
I hate you. I hate you so much. But I agree. Anchor's up.
Anchor's up, buddy.